Let's begin. Close your eyes. Breathe in deep. Imagine the warm glow of candlelight. An old library. Wooden floors creaking under careful steps. You open a book. The pages are worn. Ink still fresh with history. And you hear a voice. Gentle, thoughtful, a little mysterious. It's time to listen, to relax, and to travel back centuries ago. This is relaxing history for rest. And today, we're telling the story of a man who seemed to hear time itself. His name was Michel de Nostredame, better known as Nostradamus. He wasn't just a prophet. He was a physician, a poet, a husband, a father, a man who lived through plague, war, and exile. But most of all, he was someone who listened. Michel was born in 1503 in Saint-Rémy de Provence, France. His family had Jewish roots, but converted to Christianity, not out of faith, but necessity. In that era, religious wars were common, and survival often depended on belief, or at least appearance. He studied in Avignon, then Montpellier, where he earned his medical degree. He became a healer, traveling across Europe during outbreaks of the plague. He used herbs, remedies, and natural medicine to help people survive when even doctors feared infection. But something changed him, something deeper than science. He began seeing visions, not dreams, exactly, more like echoes from the future, and he started writing them down. At first, it was poetry, soft lines, gentle rhythm, metaphors hidden between words. But soon, those poems became predictions, cataclysms, wars, revolutions, even the deaths of kings. In 1555, he published his most famous work, Les Prophecies, Detord. Today, we call it the Centuries, 942 quatrains, each one filled with mystery, each one speaking softly, waiting for someone to understand. He never claimed to know the future, only that he could feel its rhythm, that he could see patterns, and that sometimes, if you're quiet enough, you can hear time whispering too. He once wrote, "I do not predict what will happen. I only show what might." He didn't want fame, didn't seek attention, but people found meaning in his words. They saw warnings, they saw hope, and so, over centuries, his name grew. From a simple doctor to a legend, there's one prophecy many believe came true. While he was still alive, a young lion will overcome an old one in battle, but months later, he himself will die from a wound to the eye. In 1559, King Henry II of France took part in a jousting tournament. A splinter from his opponent's lance struck him in the eye. Days later, he was dead. People whispered, was this coincidence or proof? Nostradamus never confirmed. He only said, history repeats itself. If you listen closely, you can hear its echo. His writings were full of such moments. Not clear names, not exact dates, just images, symbols, patterns. Over time, readers began finding his verses in modern events, wars, plagues, terrorism, even climate change. Duho, terrorism, even climate change. One quatrain reads, "Great famine, after great abundance, cities burned, by water and sky, ships lost at sea, all trembling in fear. At I then, Dean Peter, some say this describes pandemics, others, global disasters, still others, simply the fragility of human life. He also wrote about women who rose when men fell, about rulers who vanished quietly, about fire falling from the heavens, and strange figures appearing in the sky. He never gave direct answers, he offered questions, reflections, warnings, dressed as poetry. Nostradamus lived alone much of his life. He walked slowly, spoke softly, wrote late into the night. He believed silence held more truth than noise. He meditated often. He watched stars. He dreamed deeply. And he trusted what came from those moments. In his letters, he described how he worked best in the space between sleep and waking. What today we call the hypnagogic state, that moment when your mind is still half dreaming, when thoughts flow without judgment, and images appear without reason. He called it listening to time, not predicting the future, just understanding its pulse. He kept a journal on the margins. He wrote notes to himself. One read, "Do not look for exact dates. Look for meaning. Listen to the silence between the lines." He believed the past was the key to the future, that every event had already happened before, and that history moved in circles, not straight lines. He once told his wife, "Your name lives in my heart like light in winter. Your voice guides me. You are my spring in the cold." These lines rarely make it into history books because they're not dramatic. They're not scary. They're soft, human. He raised children. He loved deeply. He mourned. He doubted. He hoped. He was no god, just a man who felt more than most. After his death, his legacy grew. Books were reprinted, new lines added, old ones reinterpreted. Some of these editions were likely not his own. Others were exaggerated, refupri, but the core remained. His voice, and people kept listening. In Russia, during the 1990s, there was a revival of interest in esoteric knowledge. Nostradamus returned to public attention. His prophecies were printed in newspapers, quoted on TV, believed like scripture. One line made rounds again and again. When power divides into white and red, and the fate of the people becomes uncertain, new rulers will rise, and the world will change. Sound familiar? Maybe because history keeps echoing. His image appears in films, books, music, and even video games. In Assassin's Creed, Takeshi, he is a character who sees beyond time. In songs by Muse, Coldplay, and others, his words inspire lyrics of chaos and change. He didn't write for screens or microphones, but somehow he speaks to us now. Through them, his words spread, and myths grew around them. Some believe he traveled through time Others say he spoke with angels. Some claim his texts were encrypted messages meant for the distant future. But the truth is simpler. He observed, he listened, he wrote. He never predicted AI or nuclear weapons directly, but he did speak of machines that would grow faster than hearts could follow, of leaders who would rule with coldness, not compassion, of voices lost in numbers and screens. Men will lose faith and find it again in digits and glass. He wrote about a new kind of ruler, not born of blood, but of systems, about a world where information flows like rivers, and truth is hard to catch. He never named cities or countries, but he knew what it meant to live in times of uncertainty, and that's why his words still resonate. Reading Nostradamus isn't like reading a textbook. It's more like walking through fog. So you don't see everything clearly, but you feel it. Here's how to read him gently. Don't search for exact dates. Let the words settle. Listen to yourself. What do you recognize in them? Read slowly. Let the lines breathe. Return again, because meaning changes with time. Try this. Pick a quatrain. Read it aloud. Let it become a mantra. Ask, what does this mean to me now? And how does it relate to my life? What should I change? You'll find something, because he wrote not for one age, but for all ages. Nostradamus died in 1566, quietly, without drama, without fanfare. And his final words, if we believe some accounts, were simple. I smell bread, but I no longer wish to eat. Historians think he may have sensed his end, perhaps illness, perhaps intuition, and Fori, perhaps intuition, Dutzetson, perhaps in just peace. His son Cesar de Nostredame became the guardian of his writings. He preserved what he could. He warned against misinterpretation. Not all words are truth. Some are only reflections of my fears. Nostradamus never wanted to be a cult figure. He didn't ask to be remembered. He didn't write to scare anyone. He wrote because he felt something needed to be said, and because he believed someone would read it, someone would understand. And here you are, listening to his voice, 500 years later. So what is his real message? Perhaps it's this. I do not see the future. I reflect the past. And if you learn to read it, you'll know what comes next. Because history does repeat. Wars, diseases, fear, hope, love, betrayal, change. He didn't give instructions. He gave us reflection. He gave us metaphor. He gave us pause. And that's what makes him timeless. Now let's close our journey with a final meditation. You can use this as an outro for your audio, or record it separately. Close your eyes. Imagine a quiet room. A candle flickers. The air is cool. Outside wind whispers. Between trees, you hold a book. The cover is leather. The pages are soft with age. You open it and read one line. It lingers. It touches something inside you. You realize this isn't just a story. This is a mirror of time, of yourself. Nostradamus didn't write for us, but somehow he reached us anyway, because we were looking, because we were afraid, because we were hoping, and because we still believe that somewhere in the past, someone has already written what we feel today. So take a breath,
Let go of what doesn't serve you. Rest. And remember, you are not the first. You are not the last. You are right here, right now. And you are listening. Thank you.